The laptop arrived sealed in an evidence bag. The owner had been missing for 21 days. The police had already attempted a standard extraction, but found nothing of value. The hard drive had been wiped less than 48 hours before the disappearance. That detail mattered. People rarely wipe a device unless they believe it contains something worth removing. My task was not to speculate. It was to recover whatever fragments remained. Wipe storage is rarely empty. Deletion removes access, but not existence. Residual data persists in unallocated sectors, overwritten imperfectly, layered over in pieces. Within hours, I began reconstructing fragments of prior activity. At first, the recovered data was unremarkable. Academic files, web browsing remnants, application logs. Then I located a directory that did not belong to the operating system. It was hidden, not encrypted, and not indexed. The folder names were dates. Inside were dozens of short video files. Each one had been recorded using the laptop's webcam. The earliest clip showed the missing woman sitting alone at her desk. She did not introduce herself, and she didn't explain why she was recording. She spoke quietly, as if unsure whether she wanted to be heard. She said she believed someone had been inside her apartment. She described small disturbances, objects not where she left them, and a door that felt lighter when opened, a window latch that no longer aligned correctly. She did not claim certainty. She said she wanted evidence before drawing conclusions. Over time, her recordings became more deliberate. She described noticing the same unfamiliar figure near her building on multiple days. Not close enough to confront, but not far enough to ignore. She said she began altering her routines to see if the pattern changed. It did not. She logged her movements, departure times, arrival times, places visited, moments when she felt observed. She tracked irregularities in her online accounts. She believed someone was accessing private messages. She noticed login activity that did not match her behavior. She said some reactions to her posts appeared before she remembered publishing them. She documented her attempts to secure her accounts, password changes, two-factor authentication, support tickets. The responses she received were generic. As weeks passed, her demeanor shifted. Her speech became shorter, more careful, more controlled. She said she believed her webcam had been activated without her consent. She covered it with tape. In one recording, she held the laptop closer to her face. She said she had discovered a small electronic device plugged into an outlet that she didn't recognize. She removed it and stored it in a drawer. She said she had not told anyone. She did not want to explain it aloud. Later recordings were quieter. In one clip, she whispered while glancing toward her apartment door. She said she thought someone might be in the hallway. She paused repeatedly to listen, but no one entered. The video ended with the sound of the deadbolt sliding into place. Another clip showed her packing a backpack. She said she wanted to leave her apartment for several days. She said she felt safer not being alone. She explained why she had not contacted the police. She said she did not want to appear unstable. She wanted proof before involving authorities. Their final recovered recording was dated the night before she disappeared. Her posture was rigid. Her voice was flat. She said she believed the person monitoring her had moved beyond watching. She said she believed They were preparing to approach her directly. She began to say a name, but the audio cut out. The file ended mid-sentence. I analyzed network artifacts stored on the device. There were repeated unauthorized login attempts to her email and cloud storage. Some attempts failed. Others appeared to succeed briefly before being terminated. Most IP addresses were routed through anonymization networks, but one was not. It resolved to a location within a few miles of her apartment. The connection appeared repeatedly over several months. The timestamps aligned with the nights she described unusual sounds or suspicious activity. There were traces of outbound data transfers that did not correspond to her documented behavior. Small uploads, intermittent, but consistent. I compiled the findings and submitted them to investigators. My role in the case ended there. Months later, another case arrived. Another missing person, and another wiped device. The recovered file structure was similar. Hidden date-labeled folders, short webcam recordings, the same organizational logic. The second individual described similar concerns, a sense of being followed, repeated sightings of unfamiliar individuals, and strange online activity. The progression was nearly identical. Initial uncertainty, attempts to rationalize, systematic documentation, and final interruption. The last recording also ended mid-sentence. The third laptop arrived the following year. Another wiped drive, another archive buried beneath system files. This person had documented their experience more extensively. They recorded longer entries, kept more detailed logs, and tracked their own behavioral changes. But the structure remained consistent. The same type of folders, the same recording cadence, and the same abrupt ending. At that point, the pattern was just too difficult to miss. The individuals had no known connection. Their disappearances were separated by geography and time. But the digital traces suggested repetition, not coincidence. Until then, I believed the missing individuals were documenting someone stalking them. That assumption changed when I examined the earliest recovered metadata. Some of the oldest files on each device predated the victim's first recorded suspicions. The hidden directory structures already existed. They had not created the archive. It had been placed there. In each case, the recorded framework had been initialized before the victims began documenting anything, which suggested a different interpretation. They were not recording a threat. They were reacting to a system that was already embedded into their devices. The fourth device did not belong to a missing person. It belonged to a suspect in a cyber intrusion case. When I examined the recovered data, I found the same hidden directory structure, but the recordings were different. They were not personal logs. They were system tests, camera angle verification, audio trigger checks, remote activation trials. The folder hierarchy matched the missing persons case exactly. This device was not documenting fear. It was validating a tool. Digital forensics is often described as reconstructing the past. In these cases, the recovered data was not documenting history. It was documenting an ongoing process. The missing individuals did not create the system found on their devices. They discovered it. Which means the most important conclusion was not about what had already happened. It was that the framework responsible was not built for a single target. It had not been dismantled. The files I recovered were not only evidence of previous crimes. They were confirmation that the mechanism behind them was still in operation, and that the next set of recordings had likely already begun.